Part 1. The Filipino Heart. Much of what I will describe in this book did not come from textbooks. It came from watching ordinary life unfold around me, inside my own family, among neighbors, and across the communities I encountered throughout my life. Chapter 1. The Filipino Family Contract. In many countries, people sign contracts for almost everything. There are contracts for jobs, contracts for business, and contracts for property. Everything is written on paper, documented, and legally binding. But in the Philippines, one of the most important contracts in life is never written. It is the family contract. No lawyer prepares it, no one signs it. There are no witnesses and no legal language. Yet every Filipino understands it. This contract begins quietly at home. Parents work tirelessly so their children can go to school and have a better future. Older brothers and sisters often help the younger ones, guiding them, supporting them, and sometimes even sacrificing their own opportunities. Grandparents help raise the grandchildren. Relatives step in whenever someone becomes sick, loses a job, or falls into trouble. Nobody sends a bill. Nobody asks for payment. But everyone understands the quiet promise that lives behind these acts of kindness. When your time comes, you will help the family too. This unwritten agreement explains many things about Filipino life. It is why many Filipinos choose to work abroad, enduring homesickness and distance so they can support those they left behind. It is why one successful child in the family often helps send younger siblings to school or assist parents and relatives who need support. It is why, in times of crisis, families come together quickly and almost instinctively. In many countries, people turn first to government systems when difficulties arise. In the Philippines, people often turn first to family. Of course, this responsibility can sometimes feel heavy. Carrying the hopes of many relatives can be difficult, especially in hard economic times. Yet this simple system has helped Filipinos survive countless challenges. Typhoons strike the country year after year. Jobs disappear during economic downturns. Crises arrive without warning. Still, families find ways to support one another. Someone opens their home, another sends a little money, a relative helps find a job. Small acts combine to create a powerful safety net. This is why the Filipino family remains one of the strongest institutions in the country. Its strength does not come from wealth or legal documents. It comes from love, sacrifice, loyalty, and a deep sense of responsibility for one another. In the Philippines, the most important contract in life is not written on paper. It lives quietly in the hearts of families, an unwritten promise that binds generations together. Chapter 2. The Family, the First Bank. We ever knew. Before Filipinos understood banks, loans, or credit cards, they already had a place to borrow. That place was the family. Long before financial institutions existed in the daily life of ordinary Filipinos, families already practiced a quiet system of support. When someone needed help, they did not fill out forms or wait for approval. They simply turned to the people closest to them. A parent, an older sibling, an aunt, an uncle, or even a cousin would often step in to help carry the burden. In many Filipino homes, help is given not only in money, but in many other ways. Sometimes it is a place to stay when times are difficult. Sometimes it is food placed quietly on the table. Sometimes it is advice shared during long conversations. And sometimes it is simply the patience of family members who refuse to give up on one another. I remember this in a very personal way when I was a young student. In order to receive my monthly allowance from home, I had to write a letter to my parents first. In that letter, I had to explain how I was doing in school and how my studies were progressing. When my father received the letter, he would read it carefully. Then he would return the same letter to me with corrections written in red ink. He corrected everything: sentence construction, spelling, punctuation, and sometimes even the way I expressed my thoughts. At the time, it felt like a small requirement just to receive my allowance. But looking back, I now realize that my father was giving me something more valuable than money. He was teaching me how to think clearly, how to write properly, and how to communicate well. That lesson stayed with me long after the allowance was spent. This invisible system works because it is built on trust and shared responsibility. Everyone understands that life moves in seasons. Today, one member of the family may need help. Tomorrow, that same person may be the one helping someone else. No contract is signed, but the promise is understood. This is why many Filipinos carry the hopes of an entire family when they leave home to study, to work in the city, or even to work abroad. Success is rarely seen as belonging to one person alone. It is often shared with parents, siblings, and relatives who help make that success possible. Because of this culture, the Filipino family has quietly acted as the first bank many people ever knew. It provides support during sickness, job loss, disasters, and economic hardship. While other countries depend heavily on government systems, many Filipinos still rely first on family. Of course, this system is not always easy. The responsibility can sometimes feel heavy. Expectations can be misunderstood. But despite its challenges, this family network has helped the Filipino people survive many crises, typhoons, economic downturns, and unexpected tragedies. Behind the statistics of survival in the Philippines is a powerful truth. The strongest safety net in the country is not found in financial institutions. It is found around the family table. Chapter 3: The Quiet Heroes Inside Every Home. Every Filipino family has quiet heroes. They are rarely famous. They do not appear on television. Their names are not written in history books. Yet their daily sacrifices keep families alive and moving forward. They are the fathers who wake up early and go to work even when they are tired. They are the mothers who carefully stretch every peso so the family can eat, study, and survive another day. Many of them carry worries that their children never see, yet they continue working quietly, believing that their sacrifices will one day give their children a better life. In earlier generations, especially before and just after the Second World War, Filipino families were often very large. Having 9 or even 10 children in one household was not unusual. At that time, sending even one child to a university in Manila was already a heavy financial burden. Sending several was almost unimaginable for most families. This was where the Filipino spirit of the support quietly appeared. The responsibility did not fall only on the parents. It slowly spread across the family. Often the eldest child carried the first and heaviest burden. When he or she began working, part of the income was used to help send the younger brothers and sisters to school. When the second child finished and found work, that responsibility would then be shared. One by one, the older siblings helped the younger ones until eventually the entire family climbed upward together. Education in many Filipino families was not only a personal achievement, it was a collective family mission. In my own family, we were 9 siblings. 5 were born before the war, and the other 4 were what we often called the post-war babies. I belonged to the post-war group. Because of this, there was a very large age gap between the oldest and the youngest among us. In fact, the eldest sibling was already so much older that he was almost treated like a second parent to the younger ones. In many ways, that is how large Filipino families function. Responsibility was quietly shared across generations inside the same household. Older siblings did not simply grow up thinking about themselves. They naturally learned to look after the younger ones, guiding them, helping them, and sometimes sacrificing their own comfort so the rest of the family could move forward. I remember hearing stories of large families traveling together. In one such family, whenever they went on a trip abroad, the system inside the household was already clear. Each older sibling had responsibility for one younger child. One would guide a younger brother while walking through airports. Another would make sure a younger sister ate properly. Someone else helped with bathing, dressing, and organizing luggage. Even the suitcases were assigned and carefully watched. To an outsider, it might look like simple family organization. But in reality, it reflected something deeper. It showed how responsibility was quietly distributed inside the family. Older members protected the younger ones. Everyone learned early that caring for others was part of growing up. They are also the older brothers and sisters who learn responsibility early in life. Sometimes they give up small dreams so that younger siblings can finish school. They help with tuition, books, or daily needs. In many Filipino families, the first child who becomes successful often carries not only personal ambition, but the hopes of the entire household. Then there are the grandparents, the silent anchors of the family. They may no longer work outside the home, but they hold something just as valuable: memory, wisdom, and stability. They watch over the grandchildren, remind the family of its roots, and quietly keep everyone connected to one another. What makes these people heroes is not dramatic action. It is quiet endurance. It is the ability to continue loving, working, and giving even when life becomes difficult. In many countries, people speak about systems and institutions that support society. In the Philippines, the true foundation of society often begins inside the home. It is built on patience, sacrifice, and love that is repeated day after day. These quiet heroes rarely ask for recognition. They simply do what needs to be done. But if the Filipino family remains strong through many storms, it is because of them. They are the real pillars holding the nation together. Chapter 4. The Family Table. In many homes, the most important place is not the living room, but the dining table. It is where the family gathers, often at the end of a long day, when work, school, and daily struggles finally pause for a moment. At the family table, stories are told. Parents share what happened at work. Children talk about school, friends, and small victories or disappointments. Grandparents sometimes add memories from the past, reminding everyone of how things used to be. In these simple exchanges, life quietly unfolds. In my own family, the dining table held a very special place. My father believed that meals were not simply about eating. They were about being together. We were 9 siblings in the family, and my father and mother made 11 people around the table. Yet before anyone touched the food, my father insisted that everyone be present. There were times when 8 of us were already seated, waiting patiently while one sibling had not yet arrived. The food was already on the table, the plates ready, the rice steaming, but no one was allowed to begin eating. We would all wait until the missing member appeared and took his or her place. Only then would the meal begin. To many people today, this might sound odd or even a little amusing. Modern life has become very busy. Families often eat at different times, sometimes even in different rooms. But in those days, the dinner table carried a deeper meaning. For my father, it was a symbol of unity. It was the one moment in the day when the entire family could gather and face one another. Looking back now, I realized that the dining table was not only a place to eat. In many ways, it was the family's boardroom. It was where instructions were given, where plans were discussed, and where parents quietly asked questions to understand how each child was doing. It is also around the dining table where problems are first discussed. When someone is worried, the concern often appears in conversation over a meal. Advice is offered, sometimes gently, sometimes firmly. The table becomes a place where solutions begin to take shape, where family members learn that they do not face life alone. Children grow not only from the food placed on the table, but also from the conversations that surround it. They listen to the opinions of adults. They observe how disagreements are handled. They learn respect, patience, humor, and responsibility. Many of the values that guide a person later in life begin forming during these ordinary moments. Even the simplest meals can become meaningful when the family gathers together. It does not need to be a feast. A plate of rice, vegetables, or a simple dish shared in peace can carry a warmth that is far more nourishing than the food itself. Over the years, many Filipinos leave home to study, to work, or to start families of their own. Yet when they remember their childhood, one memory often returns: the sound of voices around the family table. In that simple space, something very important is quietly happening. The next generation is being shaped, not by lectures, but by daily life shared together. The family table, in its quiet way, becomes a classroom of life where character, values, and love are passed from one generation to the next. Only later in life did I realize that my father was not simply asking us to wait for dinner. He was teaching us that a family moves forward together, not separately.